One of the more fascinating things about Dead by Daylight to me is the creativity of the dev team when it comes to designing killers. Well, killer powers anyway. Let's be completely honest, most of the killer roster is just a dude. Just a dude laying traps, just a dude throwing hatches, just a dude in sunglasses and a nasally voice women find attractive for some reason. And there's nothing really wrong with dudes. I like dudes. I'm surrounded by dudes every Saturday night. But let's just say I'm glad Behavior has started giving the Dredge some new monster buddies to play with. With both the Singularity and the Xenomorph, I really am hoping body and monster horror starts coming far more often. But back to killer powers. Because Dawn by the Rocky Shore is such a unique game in its own right, it only fits that powers need to be unique. I personally think that the Trapper is one of the best ability concepts in gaming history. Seems simple for sure, but I can't think of many games where you could just place a standard stay still trap. Most of the time it's explosive, tripwires, and landmines and such. Rarely is it a hold it, you violated the law, now smell my balls type of thing, and in the context of Dear Evan Hansen, it's the power I feel with the most strategic potential. But let's not get too sidetracked begging Behavior for a buff for our beautiful spiky baby boy. Let's keep exploring the concept of power uniqueness in Dawn by Dinner Time. No two powers are the exact same. There is some overlap, obviously, there's bound to be some, but no two function the same. Both Nimi and Xenomommy have a whip-like attack, but the hitboxes are different. The usage is different and the purpose is different. Nimi uses his tentacle to imply infection all over the place and make you potentially vulnerable to his zombies and himself. And Xeno uses her tail to penetrate you with no lube without yelling surprise first. Please, you promise you wouldn't try it tonight. I just wanted to cuddle. Sorry. Billy and Bubba both have chainsaws, but while one goes on a bath salt speed rush to chase you down, the other swings it back and forth and is far more annoying. I can keep going like this, but I feel like you guys are starting to get the picture. To that end, let's talk about the range killers. Now, I've seen debates online about what constitutes a range killer. Sure, we have the three main nobody would disagree with on Deathslinger, Trickster, and Mommy. I mean, Russian Mommy, I mean Huntress. But I've heard some people argue Clown is a ranged killer because he throws bottles at you. But I think we all have an understanding that range simply means being able to do damage from a distance. And to that regard, we only have three. Now, before we can tackle the question of this video, do we have room for another ranged killer? Let's look at the differences between the three we have now. Starting with Huntress, her hatchets are the most direct form of damage of the three ranged killers. Cock a hatchet back and let it fly, and if it connects, it takes a health state. Simple, really. The hatchets fly in a relative arc, meaning that the height you aim for changes the arc it travels in. Aiming straight will have a straight line, and the higher you look, the more the hatchet arcs. And the Huntress players who aren't complete ass, like myself, can even do things called orbitals, where they throw a hatchet almost directly into the air, and it comes down onto an unsuspecting survivor, effectively making them shit themselves. Of the three range killers, Huntress has the highest skill ceiling, and because of the direct form of damage, she lives comfortably in the A tier of killers. Next, let's look at the Deathslinger. Slinger's damage is less direct than Huntress, but more direct than Trickster's. It's a tad faster to fire than Huntress, but the health state deduction is only guaranteed in a healthy state. If you spear a survivor, they are going to become deep wounded. One way or another, unless you purposely swing and don't hit them, they will get deep wounded every single time. If they are injured and you don't manage to land an M1 attack, however, then they will not drop into the dying state. The most important part here is that the M1 has to happen once they are injured. There are no add-ons or perks or techs that will make the Scorpion get over here spear take the survivor from injured to down. Because of this, the Slinger finds himself in a lower B. He has a decent skill ceiling, I feel, being how you can aim through some stupid cracks and crevices, and he has pretty decent anti-window potential, but much like his M1 cousins, he suffers at pallets because you can't hit over them. Finally, Trickster. And if you saw my How to Fix Trickster video a couple days ago, then you guys know how I feel about him. Having the least direct damage of the three ranged killers, Trickster is a pain in the ass to use. He has to hit you with 6 of his knives for 1 health state, and the knives are awkward to aim, slow to use, and your potential to use them is hindered greatly by any random bit of tall wall or rock or the sun setting or whatever. Because of this, Trickster will never climb out of C, and even in C, I put him at the lower end, would probably be D tier, if not for his purple add-ons, which actually make his awkward ass power viable somewhat. So I mentioned 3 common factors here: how direct is the damage, how viable is the aiming, and how powerful is the killer. And at the moment, we have a fairly even spread. So does this mean we don't need a new range killer? Yes. Okay. Let's actually think about this for a bit. For funsies, I thought of a couple ways we could insert a ranged killer. The thing to keep in mind when I'm talking about these things is that we never, ever want a hit scan killer. If you're curious, hit scan is a shooter game term that means wherever you are aiming when you click the fire button is where the hit lands. There's no physical projectile for you to see and dodge. To put it in Overwatch terms, Widow is hit scan, Hanzo is projectile. So a couple off the top of my head concepts. Remember, this is just power concepts. I'm not like going to go out of my way to create full killers here. Okay, concept one. We get a killer whose range power doesn't do damage at all. Maybe instead its ranged attacks inflict debuffs and status effects. Well, that kind of brings us back to the clown, and we've already established that without doing damage, we can't consider the clown a ranged killer. So instead, let's shift our thinking. What if it was a health state, but it was delayed? What if we had a killer chuck some sort of poison at the survivors, and over time... Ooh, Wait. That's just the plague. Is the plague a ranged killer? Well, with her red puke, I guess we can throw her in there. Well, fuck. Okay, so maybe we have 4 ranged killers. 3.5. Okay, concept 2. Instead, let's play around with the idea that the damage dealt is more of an area of effect. Maybe introducing half health states seems a bit convoluted, but what if the killer tossed around some sort of concussion grenades, or maybe threw cow trips on the ground for survivors to step on? But then that's just a better trapper at that point. If you could just toss your traps in front of them while they're running and deal some kind of damage. Okay, well, all right, let's try one more. Concept 3, a ranged killer that does the opposite of Slinger and pulls themselves toward the survivor. Maybe some kind of web, which we'll just get it called Spider-Man. But hey, we may be onto something. We can work with this. If the killer hits you with a thrown object, it might briefly immobilize, or rather hinder you. And the killer takes a second or two and pulls themselves towards you. And if you don't make it behind a wall, there's like a body slam that does a partial health state or a full one. But then at that point, why not just play nurse? See, the thing is, no matter how you spin it, a new ranged killer would either be a killer we already have, or they'd be weaker than a killer we currently have. I don't think there's much else behavior can do. And look, I'm not going to act like I sat here for hours and hours trying to think of a concept for a ranged killer. And I'm also not going to say that there's not a good idea out there. But if there is, I don't really see it. And to be fully honest, I don't know if we need another one. The 3 we have fill their roles fairly well. I mean, except for Trickster. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. But in that instance, Trickster just needs more buffs than a new killer to come to take his place. And his place is in my bed on a Saturday night as one of the many dudes.